One day, when the glory comes, it will be ours, it will be ours. Oh, one day, when the war is won, we will be sure, we will be sure. Oh, glory.
On Wednesday, June 17th, in Charleston, South Carolina, at the Emanuel African Methodist Episcopal Church, also known as Mother Emanuel, 9 lives were taken and a nightmare and tragedy began.
21-year-old Dylan Storm Roof fired shots at 9 victims, 6 being women and 3 being men, whose ages range from 26 to 87. Before the shooting took place, the members, now deceased victims of the Mother Emanuel Church, welcomed Dylan into their house of worship as he sat and met with them.
Mother Emanuel is one of the United States' oldest Black churches and has long been a site for community organizing around civil rights. Lawmakers are considering this act to be a hate crime. And I'm still at a loss for words about what happened at the Emanuel Church. What are you guys' thoughts?
I think it's very disturbing, as I stated with you guys earlier when we talked, like, this whole thing, hate crime, racism, it's just really blowing up, not only here in South Carolina, but everywhere. And I find it to be very hard for us to even, like, not even feel safe to go inside of a church and feel like we're, you know, safe, like,
or anywhere.
Yeah.
Because, like, when I was thinking about it, I was just like, this could be at the mall, this could be while I'm at work, this could be at the movie theaters, it could be anywhere. You know, like, you never know what's going to happen at any time.
It just saddens me because we took a few steps back. You know, at 2015, why are we still having hatred and racism? It's just something needs to get.
Definitely.
Very disturbing. I just hope that, you know, as we move forward and progress, you know, into the future, like, something definitely can change, but we have to take a break. When we come back, we will sit and talk with Mr. Brian Kirk White, who is a close friend of the victim, Tawana Sanders. This is the Charleston Massacre, and you are tuned into LiveOn.
All we say to America is be true to what you said on paper. If I lived in China or even Russia or any totalitarian country, maybe I could understand some of these illegal injunctions. Maybe I could understand the denial of certain basic First Amendment privileges because they haven't committed themselves to that over there. But somewhere I read of the freedom of assembly. Somewhere I read of the freedom of speech. Somewhere I read of the freedom of press. Somewhere I read that the greatness of America is the right to protest far right.
We want to welcome everyone back to the show today as we discuss a very touching and heart-fulfilling topic, the Charleston Massacre.
Joining us now is Mr. Bryant Kirk White, founder and CEO of A-Baby Incorporated. Mr. White was a close friend to Mr. Tawana Sanders, who was one of the victims in the Mother Emanuel Church shooting. We want to welcome Mr. White to the show.
Hey.
Good day.
Good. Mr. White, talk to us about your relationship with Mr. Sanders.
Having a collegiate base in which I met him through his best friends that he grew up with in Charleston, I was brought into knowing ones on a various base that involved a lot of fun and excitement, and which life deserves. Post-collegiate activities, we went our separate ways. We went different ways in general, whether we were friends or not. But one thing Wanza represented it in something that really helped me and a baby growing was true love and support. Wanza himself, what he was, his whole embodiment was that love and support, not just for what you're trying to do, but what you can do. A true representation of your aspirations and always looking forward to what can happen and what should happen instead of what shouldn't or what you can't do. So him being that representation of love and support is what meant the most to me in our friendship.
Yes, and you definitely need people like that around you at all times.
Definitely.
That's amazing.
Yeah. we know that Tawanza put up a Snapchat minutes before the shooting happened. After seeing that snap, how does that make you feel? What do you think about that?
To me, just knowing Wanza from a standpoint of always being positive, the Snapchat represented how we live our lives day to day, even how he lives it or how we live it. We don't look at life specifically as our last day maybe coming or our last moment, and that's something that a Bevy, myself, everything I do stands upon. Live every day to the fullest. Give your all. Let people know that you're growing, that you're trying to become better. So that snap, even being, pre-image of his death, represented exactly what we should continue to do, and that's show the world that we're growing, gathering together, and trying to help each other while helping ourselves.
And let nothing stop you.
Definitely.
We know that A-Baby has created a scholarship in honor of your friend, Mr. Tawanza Sanders. Can you tell us a little bit more about that scholarship and how others can get involved in it?
The Tawanza Sanders Scholarship is something that I thought of that morning, having, a back and forth feeling, of what to do in anger. And so having a base of education, media, and arts through scholarship, I had the idea to create a scholarship in Tawanza's name. In contacting his best friends that he grew up with, Race for Achievement is a nonprofit out of Charleston, South Carolina, who had already established a scholarship at James Charter Island High School. Prior to me having the idea, they had already, upon his death, figured to change the Race for Achievement High School Scholarship to the Tawanza Sanders Scholarship. So in that moment, we were able to partner with Race for Achievement and become a lead sponsor and both a donor for the Tawanza Sanders Scholarship. For any individual interested in donating toward it, you can visit ababyincorporated.com or racefораchievement.com and make donations. And in that, we're just helping and hoping to have Tawanza's legacy live on.
Definitely. Thank you so much for joining us today and sharing that with us. Our prayers and our continuous thoughts are with Tawanza's family and the other 8 victims. When we come back, we will hear President Barack Obama's eulogy at Senator Clemente Pinckney's funeral and recap on his feelings and thoughts of this tragedy. This is the Charleston Massacre, and you're tuned into We Are Front Row.
Kind of civil war.
There is something particularly heartbreaking about the death happening in a place in which we seek solace and we seek peace, in a place of worship.
That I heard someone on the news say, tragedy has visited this church. This wasn't a tornado. I hate to even use this pun, but this one is black and white.
They say to each of us, Dr. King said, black and white alike, that we must substitute courage for caution. They say to us that we must be concerned not merely with who murdered them, but about the system, the way of life, the philosophy which produced the murderers. Their death says to us that we must work passionately and unrelentingly for the realization of the American dream. And if one will hold on, he will discover that God walks with him and that God is able to lift you from the fatigue of despair to the buoyancy of hope and transform dark and desolate valleys into sunlit paths of inner peace.
Welcome back to our edition of the Charleston Massacre. When it comes to the words of comfort, President Barack Obama knew just how to warm the hearts of the families, friends, and mourners who were saddened by the Charleston Massacre. President Barack Obama had the honor of doing the eulogy at Senator Clemente Pinckney's funeral. Let's take a look and see what the president had to say.
Maybe we now realize the way racial bias can infect us even when we don't realize it. So that we're guarding against not just racial slurs, but we're also guarding against the subtle impulse to call Johnny back for a job interview, but not Jamal. As we all have to acknowledge, the flag has always represented more than just ancestral pride. for many, black and white. That flag was a reminder of systemic oppression and racial subjugation. We see that now. Removing the flag from this state's capital would not be an act of political correctness. It would not be an insult to the valor of Confederate soldiers. It would simply be an acknowledgement that the cause for which they fought, the cause of slavery, was wrong.
Obama touched on a lot of key points in his eulogy. What stood out most to me is when he talked about Johnny and Jamal.
That's true, yeah.
Johnny would be able to get a job with no problem.
More so Jamal.
More so Jamal. So how do you guys, feel about
Well,
that?
I'm gonna start off being an African American woman. My name is Tradia. So I just had this conversation with somebody at my job. Say if Samantha's application was right there and then Tradia's application, which one would be more so to get the job? Because Samantha is more so a Caucasian name. It's more, it sells more. Tradia, no. But, that's my name. So I have to fight more to make myself stand out and know that I'm just as good as Samantha or Heather.
Definitely.
Because they judge automatically. And that's why they can pronounce it. Not saying anything's wrong. But I'm saying, if they can pronounce it, Tradia,
It's not common, like what society makes you want to believe that it's common as far as being a Caucasian lady in America. They want you to look like that,
Yeah. Well, also he spoke on grace and how we need grace in America. From a biblical point of view, the Bible says we must have grace, not only grace, grace and mercy. So Barack Obama tied that into, I would go back to Dylan Roof. He felt as if Dylan Roof had no type of mercy for what he did. No. He just acted off of how he felt. Mm-hmm. What we need more in the world today is grace. Grace covers us all, and grace keeps us knowing that, there is just life. Like, we can be able to live and go through whatever it is that we're going through. Is that how you feel about it?
I definitely feel that way. It saddens me that he actually had this plan in his head to kill innocent lives, and that African American lives. That shows you that grace needs to step in, and
definitely.
Power of the Lord and all that needs to step in.
Definitely.
And his speech was very well formed. I feel like he keeps it 100% real.
Yeah,
it's relatable.
Exactly.
Love Barack.
But he keeps it 100% real, and whether you want to hear it or not, it's the truth.
Yeah,
like 100%. When it comes down, when he took it back all the way to slavery and civil rights, and stuff, it all plays a part because history repeats itself. The quote. So I just really respect him. You have to, admire him, respect him for the way that he, delivered his words. Not trying to sound, defensive or trying to, throw shots at anyone, like that. He just keeps it 100% real and let us, hear what I really think everybody needs to hear.
And recently, we know that the Confederate flag came down from in front of the State House. That is history to South Carolina. The flag has
15 years later.
Has been here for many years, exactly 15 years later. So how do you guys feel about the flag coming down?
It should have never been at our State House. That's not our flag, and it represents negativity. That's not moving forward. So we all know that it was on top of the State House, so they brought it down, but that was for a compromise.
Yeah, and I know a lot of things, they say not to question God, and a lot of things happen for a reason, but, with the tragedy that did happen, we are only hoping that it's another step forward, into something better for our nation. Let's say if the killing, didn't happen, the house
still be there.
And if it wasn't that situation, it could have been something else.
Yes.
Why did it take that?
Thankfully that they were in the house of the Lord.
Yes.
Not saying that any places.
Yeah.
But, just at that time, I just am very thankful that at least they were in the house of the Lord, and something like this, it is tragic, but
it's also a victory for our ancestors, for our grandchildren, our children will be able to remember this moment.
Definitely.
I was happy that I was able to experience it because I live in Columbia. Columbia, South Carolina. Unfortunately, I had to work, so I wasn't there, but I actually caught coverage of it. And it was just a great time for South Carolina and Columbia in general. So
It was very powerful for me when an African-American man got to actually walk the flag away from where they took it down. So that's very powerful as well. So I'm just excited to see where South Carolina is going and moving. It's a saddened situation that nine lives were taken. Yeah, and that's just it. It's not just in South Carolina. We deal with race everywhere.
how do you guys feel the families of the 9 victims feel?
I'm sure they're
Do you think they're
terrified. They're lost. It's shocking to everyone because no one expects people to just die in church. Church is a place where you're supposed to go and feel peace, be able to.
But even with the death of their family, something else greater happened as far as the removal of the flag after 15 years of that discussion, their last discussion with the flag being brought down. So I feel also the families, they're kind of, happy, that they were the reason why the flag was even thought about to even come down. Because 15 years, it wasn't going anywhere.
Definitely.
So
we send our condolences to the families, and we want everyone to know that We Are Front Row supports you in the whole state of South Carolina as well as other states. We send our love and our appreciation to everyone.
We are devastated by the loss of the 9 lives, but we want to send out our continuous support to the family, friends, and the Emanuel Church family.
The state of South Carolina is at a crossroads. The question is, will they continue with the underlying racist attitude, or will they move forward for change and equality for all the citizens and people?
Let's allow Barack Obama to close us out with a song of hope and peace as we continue to encourage and uplift the state of South Carolina. I am Taylor Johnson.
I am Tracy McCoy.
And I am Valerie Bonwood.
And together, we are Front Row.
If we can find that grace, anything is possible. If we can tap that grace, everything can change. Amazing grace. Amazing grace. Amazing grace, how sweet the sound that saved a wretch like me. Clementa Pinckney found that grace. Cynthia Hurd found that grace. Susie Jackson found that grace. Ethel Lance found that grace. The Payne Middleton doctor found that grace. Tywanza Sanders found that grace. Daniel L. Simmons Sr. found that grace. Sharonda Coleman Singleton found that grace. Myra Thompson found that grace. Through the example of their lives, they've now passed it on to us. May we find ourselves worthy of that precious and extraordinary gift as long as our lives endure. May grace now lead them home. May God continue to shed His grace on the United States of America.